Hey, so I thought today I would talk a little bit about focusing in on targeting a little bit more. Look, I mean, this targeting thing, I think a lot of people struggle with, and I think there's a few reasons why, and I also think there's reasons why that AI gets it wrong. And I think there are ways to improve it. And it's funny because I had a earlier conversation with somebody this week where we were talking about targeting and how to get targeting more on point and how to get like calls and confirmation about targeting as well. And so whenever you think about targeting, I think there's a key portion of this where you have to kind of focus in on, how exactly, are you targeting for your particular clients? And with regards to this, I think the way to think about this overall is that um, you want to think about how are you getting that categorical alignment, right? How do you get the right sort of people in the industry, the right levels of products and service fit, the right levels of market need alignment as well, right? So if you get matches across these, the category fit is there, and so the having that category fit in place gets you to the first level of targeting. The second level is, do you have growth stage alignment? So that are they, is the company at a point where they need your service or not? And if not, then, obviously that doesn't match. Um, and then you've got like infrastructure and tech alignment as well, right? So, whatever it is that you might be offering, again, like does your what you're offering fit that company at that level? And then the last one is like operational complexity. So making sure that um, in terms of the way and the offering that you have, does that particular fit as well? And what this results in is like a qualified target. So, how does that, at the end of the day, result is something that I think every organization has to struggle with, but also has to go through some level of confirmation, right? So, as you are targeting and you're working through this, on your own, there are a couple of again resources that I offer, and one example here would be inside of ChatGPT, and I talked about this thing last week as well, that I offer um, a GPT that is the targeting radar. It's this one, and I'll include it in the video. But again, like this GPT is only going to be as good as working through the first level of the targeting and categorical alignment, and then confirming with something else and making sure that you're working through that. And it's funny because I've done a lot of work now in our digital spotlight community tool um, called the content path, where we will have a target offering that's going to work through this, with people as well. But, big part of this is having that first level correct. And so, you can come in here and say, look, help me figure out who I should target first. And then it's going to go through and do some level of focus, inside of the GPT, right? So it's going to, ask you a series of questions. What do you sell? Who's it for? All those sorts of things. I think a lot of these things I actually have in my brand statements. So let me see if um, yeah, so I can get that to fire, right? So got that. Let's see if that helps to answer some of it. Additionally, I'm going to tell it, additionally, you can go my website, and that's D3 Digital Media. You can see it's coming up with like a series of things around like the targeting reframe, and like the way that it's going to think about this part of it. But I'm going to let let this part finish out, And then I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to go to Sales Navigator, and we're going to use Sales Navigator for a bit of this as well, and just build like a new level of a view based on companies that I might target, right? So you could say, look, I want to look at account filters. I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, annual revenue on the low side. Let's just pick like 500,000 to 5, just to kind of round it out in numbers here. We're going to say, I'm going to skip over company headcount just in the United States. So now you can see we've got 6 million companies in here, still a bit too much. And then now let's just say that we're going to focus in on just the med device people. So medical equipment manufacturers. Now we're down to 30,000 companies here. So we've got still quite a few. Let's just say that, maybe they add a recent activity. It looks to me like you got 24 people that had funding events and 42 that had senior leadership changes. So let's just focus in on those. So now I got 42 companies that fit this level of grouping that's inside of here. So let's just say that I'm going to focus in on those. So I'm going to select all of these in here. I'm going to create a list based on this. So I'm going to go save to list, and small med device is going to be the name. Small. All right, so that's that group. I'm going to create and save that group, but I'm also going to use this list to do some additional filtering a little bit later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these company names out of here, primarily so that I could use them in with my ChatGPT. So if I come back to my ChatGPT tab, which is this, I'm going to share. It looks to me like this could be shared. So hopefully everybody's seeing. Yeah, it looks to me like this tab is being shared. So I'm going to come back and if you focus on 0.5 to 5 million companies in med device, I would like list of company names. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, again, if I go back to my Excalidraw again and I share this tab here, I mean, what we're trying to do is trying to use ChatGPT for focusing on this part first. And then the second part that I just asked it was, look, can you focus in on companies? That's kind of getting down to this grouping as well, right? So as we, kind of focus, back on this and have it check into companies, as it goes through this listing, what it's doing is to try and focus in on that. And then on the other side, right, if I come back to, what I've got inside of Sales Navigator is a short list of just two pages of potential leads. But what I need to happen is I need that the ChatGPT part finished, right? So I need this to come up with who are these companies in the 500K to 10 million band. I said 5, and it looks to me like it expanded it to 10. And so it's, currently going through that extended thinking model, trying to just expand, this list right now into, providing a list of actual companies. So I'm going to let this go ahead and continue to process here. But the whole idea here is that we wind up with a list of named companies that we can provide that level of, point, half a million, 0.5 million to 10 million or 5 million, whichever. And at the end of the day, I want it to provide me a list of med device companies in those categories. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sales navigator list that's over here, and with this list now I could provide that list back. And I look at this list as the confirmation layer, right? So this is a confirmation of this. Now, I think that, to this conversation I had earlier this week, it kind of tied to Apollo as well. So you can think of using Apollo.io or Sales Navigator, whichever tool that you want for your confirmation. But I still think it's the same exercise. I think you let AI do a search, let AI provide a list of companies, go use something that's a little bit more intelligent about the levels that different companies might be at, and then come back and provide that back in so that you could get to a level that is like this, where it has two levels and it focuses in on providing a level of focus that one tool by itself can't get to, right? So the AI by itself is not going to get to this level. And instead, I want a really qualified target at the bottom list of companies that I can focus in on, and then I'll show you how I'll use that information in the end. So let's come back here inside of ChatGPT. It looks to me like it's currently, still trying to hone in on what those companies would be. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and paste these things in, and then we'll have this information in here as we get to the point of providing the final information. So this information, these companies came from Sales Navigator. Like you. Five to there we go. There we go. All right, and then here's the first page and the second page. I'm going to load in here as well. I meant to hit enter, or I meant to hit return without hitting enter, and unfortunately, I went ahead and looks like it took that list, and then now here's page 2. Normally I would just hit shift and then enter, but like I said, I accidentally hit enter by itself and it pulled it in. I'm going to go grab that list off of the other page. You're not going to see this, but I'm just grabbing page 2, and then I'm going to load. I'm going to copy this grouping, and it looks to me like it's not quite 25 results in the second page. So it looks to me like, yeah, it's 42. So it's not quite 50. And so, again, these are things that you have to work through, with the models or whatever. And like, hopefully this gives it enough to think about as it goes to apply, its overall, thinking about each one of the companies. And it looks to me like what it does is like it provides a company name, like what they do, and then like what kind of revenue figure, and then a little bit of a brief bit of information. So this isn't scraped data, it's copied and pasted information. So it's only going to come up with whatever was on the screen. But again, the AI here now could compare this list against what it has in the original list, so that we can get to a better sort of summary of targets that we can then reach out to. And like I said, I'm building a tool similar to this so that clients of mine that are in the digital spotlight can then use that information automatically, right? I mean, they can come in and it'll automatically, based on their ICP, build out the list of targets, and then from that, it'll push them over to Sales Navigator with an actual query. So then that way they can just drop in that query right into Sales Navigator, and then from there, then they can build out the list like I just showed here, and then confirm that back with the tool that I've built, and then this will help get them down to a targeted list. This is a manual version of the same thing. It's just we're having to right now go back and forth with AI and sort of make sure that it checks all of these things. After I have the list of targets, what I would do next, after I have the relevant targets that I'm going to go after, is I would go back to Sales Navigator. So let's just say that I come back over here. I've got this list, and I say, look, I'm going to save these additional companies back to that small med device list. Now you can see I've got 42 companies in there. Once I've got this portion done, the next step really is to go back to the lead list. And what I want to do next is I want to search for leads that fit into the same category, right? So if I've got a real lead list in here, and let's just do it this way. So if I were to start all at the beginning, lead list is here. Where I'm going to set things up at the very start is I'm going to go to account list, and I'm going to go small, and it was small med device, right? So this is the list right here. This is the list of companies. And then you could go to who's viewed your profile or who's maybe a first level connection that might work for one of these companies. And it looks to me like I've got 12 people that I'm currently connected with that work for one variety or another of these companies that are in my lead list, right? So this is the list here. And you can kind of see like some of these people, it looks to me like are, co-founders or CEOs, marketing directors, et cetera. So they're all good connections. Board members may not be. Sometimes, they're really gun shy about, actually, connecting you with people. So look, if I don't have a really good connection with, let's say, a board member, I may not reach out to them to ask them for their help initially. But I also, could always say, hey, look, let me see if I could use that board member connection to sort of triangulate even more people that I might be able to connect with. So again, I'm going to come back to my ChatGPT tab here. It looks to me like it still is not finished. It's still sort of syncing through and trying to figure out which companies specifically that I might want to go after. And then also any companies that I might not want to connect with because they might not be a fit for my specific sort of positioning, right? So again, if I were to come back to this section, we want to use the intelligence that we have between Sales Navigator and AI to sift between these two things. Sales Navigator is not any good at helping me think through that level of like, how do I specifically target? AI can do that. On the other side, AI may not have all the information about the company itself. So together, it makes a really powerful tool in helping me think through, how specifically, should I apply this and make sure that I've got the right level of focus. So there we go. It looks to me like I've finally got the answer back. So the Morel company, they're very lean with basically value prop. and the homepage is heavily demo led. Even the article section looks like a small company. Pro MedTech is centered on single product, and main navigation is basically overview, device technology, about us, etc. Olive Flair Biosciences looks like a target. Medtrina and For Web Medical. So these are the four top ones. And then it sort of comes down here and says, hey, look, as a second wave to validate, but don't put them in the first list, is Rampart, Nyco, Spinal Simplicity. So remember, Spinal Simplicity I had on the last page, I remember, in terms of first level connections as well. They would deprioritize precision neuroscience, etc., because of the fact that these might be further along than the sweet spot that I described in my brand identity. A few examples of why Natrix publicly highlights $33.5 million raised and have an open jobs footprint. So again, like, these things you have to, like, one, read through, weigh, make sure that you understand. But it all goes back to, in my mind, what it really goes back to is, like, where are these companies overall? And what I see in that second level list is, do they maybe not fit me because there might not be growth stage aligned, and they also might not be looking at the same level over here in terms of operational complexity. And so between these two things, that these might be reasons why not to go after them and put them in a mismatch over here in terms of category. I also think that there's an opportunity to test this as well and say, hey, look, maybe if somebody raised money, maybe that's a good opportunity overall for my organization or your organization, right? And so as you think through, like, how to apply these different things, I would say still test everything inside of the model. But I do think that the GPT that I'm providing provides a level of focus to get you to a real area of, how do you actually deliver a set of companies that I can really focus in on. After I do this and I test this and I know, which ones really need my services, which ones don't, then it allows me the opportunity to come back and refine this a little more and say, hey, look, let's make sure that we really touch on key elements that can support my organization and where I want to grow, or your organization as an example. And so whether you're trying to do more category targeting or maturity targeting, I think ultimately getting to that level and really understanding, what is the level of focus that I want to have. This will drive you to a short list. Then from that short list, I would say take the first and second levels, work those extensively, make sure that you've got, some good understanding of where the different companies are. And then once you're there, then, carry things forward. So I'm going to stop sharing for just 1 second here. And then while I'm, sort of sifting through things on the other side, I think there's an opportunity, again, to really look at ways to leverage this for other companies as well. And so the one organization that I'm thinking of right now, it would probably be a good test organization to run this through and see, what the end result would be for, your organization and your brand fit, and, more specifically, how you might be able to mature your company based on, the things that you find inside of the GPT. I hope this has helped you, and I hope that you grab the GPT that I have. Again, I'm providing these tools as a part of this, and then also I'll include the Excalibur in case you couldn't really see the diagram. But I mean, ultimately, having that right category fit, and then having the right level of maturity, and then testing this with your brand identity and testing it with your ICP, and really making sure that you're testing the possibility of using AI plus real world data. I think at the end of the day is the most powerful combination that all of us can have. And yeah, thanks a lot for being here, and thanks a lot for watching the video.